what I know from oral history and what I know from what people have found here at Blue Spring and underneath the bluff shelter, this is probably one of the oldest inhabited places on this continent, arguably. There are items that have been found here that date back 10,000 years. And so because we haven't found pottery or points or those kinds of tools or implements that are older than that, doesn't mean that human beings weren't here. As I've heard from various people who've talked about the history of Blue Spring that's been passed on to them from their grandfathers and the grandfathers before them, it seems that American Indian people have been here since time immemorial, since we've been here, which is an awful long time. So it's an ancient place for American Indian indigenous people.
On our first dive in, we went in with conventional, cave diving equipment, which are very large steel tanks on our back. When we got down to the crack, and the crack is 12 to 18 inches wide. Well, that's pretty much the size of our tanks, let alone our bodies. And we were really disappointed at the first dive when we were not able to make entry into the spring itself because the crack is so small. I got down to the crack and eased in, and of course it was kind of tight, and that always brings on a little apprehension whenever you start trying to squeeze through something.
I just barely made it through the second restriction. I couldn't believe that there was so much more cave below us.
We swam down and there's another restriction. It was about the same size as the second restriction. Now in this system, any place that you can actually turn around, we call a room. Below the third restriction is a room. It's like a tube shape. It's about 5 feet in diameter and about 15 feet long. There's a gravel floor that's on a slope.
The water flow is really strong here. We started looking around for the source, and we see this small opening just to the north side that was choked up with gravel.
They were finally able to move on past the fourth restriction, and there was a small room beyond with a floor that sloped down 45 degrees.
The floor of this room was covered with gravel and led to another restriction, number 5, which was a small hole about the size of a basketball.
Later, the divers recreate the passage of the fifth restriction for the camera.
It was a very closed in, not much freedom of movement. I only had one arm that I could really work with, that I could move gravel with, and just keep going an inch at a time, and if I would have panicked and tried to get out of there, there was just no way to get out. I mean, you just had to keep digging to get out.
Our world. A vast assortment of complex ecological wonders. All the way from the lowest flatlands to towering mountain ranges. But what many don't know is that deep beneath us lies a separate world, full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Travel deep within and discover the beauty, the mysticism, the wonder, the power. Of our inner earth.
Caves. They're a dark and mysterious place, where eternal silence is broken only by the flutter of bat wings and the echoes of water droplets falling from the ceiling. Large, vaulted halls, carved out slowly by percolating groundwater, are often integrated into a network of confusing passageways, sometimes carrying large volumes of water. Tapestries of delicate and exotic-shaped calcite formations decorate hidden rooms and secret chambers that lead throughout this world of relentless darkness and trembling shadows. Strange and unusual creatures that have evolved in the world of absolute darkness no longer have color and have even lost the need for their eyes. Ancient cultures throughout the world feared caves, believing that demons and mystical beasts dwelled within these eerie realms. Only the brave dared to enter the labyrinth of subterranean tunnels that led into the unknown. But today, members of the National Speleological Society have boldly faced the harsh and often dangerous environment to document and map the vast underground wilderness that lies beneath our feet. Many of the early towns and homes in America were settled near large limestone springs as a source of good drinking water. Unfortunately, as our nation grew, people began throwing trash and even hazardous waste into sinkholes, resulting in widespread spring water pollution. As our population increased, homes were even built inside of sinkholes, which commonly flood during large storm events. And another problem with building too close to a sinkhole is the risk of sudden collapse and damage to a home. Understanding the causes for spring water contamination, sinkhole flooding, and sinkhole collapse are essential for preventing future problems. In karst areas, stormwaters usually enter the subsurface too rapidly to receive adequate filtration of surface contaminants. Once the polluted water enters the cave stream, little or no additional filtration takes place before it reaches a spring. Hydrogeologists specializing in tracing groundwater use harmless dyes to help understand the subterranean flow paths in karst terrains. If a spring becomes contaminated, karst hydrogeologists can use fluorescein green dye or red dyes such as rhodamine or eosine to prove a connection between a pollution source and the spring. Nearly all pollution sources have the potential to contaminate limestone groundwater. Trash-filled sinkholes, septic tanks, and animal waste runoff are the most common problems. Even the diligent work of our hydrogeologists and environmental specialists cannot prevent all groundwater contamination. We all hold a responsibility to protect our drinking water. Each and every citizen must practice safe and proper disposal methods of any substance that could taint our groundwater. Through education and public awareness, we will all feel safe to turn on our spigot, take a long, cool drink, and smile, knowing the water is clean and pure.